I'm just here making air fried potato chips. I was thinking, I was watching this video. I can't remember what the guy's name is. He's gun rights and stuff like that, and how. Anyway, but I was sitting here thinking, all the time, all these laws through my time on this planet has given more power to the criminals, more against victims, until the crimes nowadays where you can't defend yourself, without almost coming under prosecution. In fact, there's been people, charged with murder and everything else and defending themselves. But why is the justice system defending crime? Except that them and the police are funded by taxes to fight crime. So basically they promote, they're like if you see stuff in your garden and they say, well, if you get a pest, or if you get a bug, say you get a ladybug to go against aphids, and that ladybug eats aphids. They chow on them big time. But I've noticed where if you have a pest problem in a garden or something like that, it's basically allowed to grow so that they continue, those bugs still have a food source. So they'll eat them, but they also allow them to grow. They're not like just eating them and then their eggs and then they're destroying them. They're not just eradicating them. They're eating the ones, that they find, but they also let, I don't know if they eat eggs. Have you ever heard of a bug that eats eggs of another bug? I haven't heard of that. I mean, some snakes, not very many, very few. And if they do, it's probably a bird that is beneficial. So just like crime, is the justice system promoting crime, allowing it to fester in the citizenry to continue to collect taxes on it? That's what I'm guessing. They don't want to abolish crime. They want crime around, otherwise they don't have a job. The justice system doesn't have a job. The police don't have a job. They all allow crime. I mean, they use criminals. They allow them to continue to operate. They call them, I don't know what they call them, what is it, the FBI? Is it an asset? There's somebody on the street, or they're a narc, or a narc I think is a cop that's a narcotics police. But there's people that they're like that. Anyway, I mean, they're undercover and they got people. They'll arrest maybe a big time person and they'll say, okay, I'll give you info if you let me continue to operate. And so they say, they make a deal, they cut a deal with criminals. So the criminal continues to be a criminal, backed by police or FBI or ATF or whoever it is, or the justice, who knows who it is. And police go undercover, commit crimes. So you're having crimes committed against you by police, allowed by the justice system, allowed by, they're gonna say, it's just like job. Well, we don't do this, and it's in writing. Well, we don't allow this, and we don't allow this. And then when you get into the job, it's you need to do this, but it's not allowed. Well, you got to do this. We arrange stuff here like this, or we ship this, or we accept this. But it's like it's just they pass over what they say. All jobs. I've never had a job where they didn't have something where they said, oh, we don't do this, and then later on it's like, oh yeah, we have to do this because otherwise, it's all these different outlays of stuff that's allowed to happen, but says that it doesn't. So when you hear something in the news that says, oh, we are against. They're not totally against. They're not totally against crime, because crime doesn't happen. I mean, you know, you hear about police and what happens when a policeman's shot. I'll guarantee you the police department is on it 24/7. That they don't stop until somebody gets arrested. But if who they're supposed to be protecting, the citizens, if that happens to them, you know, it's like, oh, well, you know, it's, well, that's too bad, you know, that happened to you. We're probably not going to find them, you know, this, whatever the reason. But if it happens to them, they're on it, you know, in the justice system. So, but they don't tell you that we allow stuff to fester. We allow citizens to get robbed and murdered, and they're not going to say that, because it would be against their etiquette to allow it to go to create more taxes to fight it. And then when people say too much, then they start cracking out, say, hey, you know, they're going to tell the criminals that they know that they're allowing to operate, say, hey, could you cut it down for a couple months? You know, they probably even pay them. Who knows? You know, where's a lot of money going to? I mean, what are we working with terrorists? Are we paying terrorists? Are we paying? We're paying Iran. Obama gave billions of dollars in cash to Iran. Now Biden's coming back in, and he's stepping back up. I don't know what Iran has given to these Democrat presidents, but it must be, you know, it's got to be criminal, according to the Republicans, because they don't allow it. And all you hear out of Iran is death to America. We hate America. I haven't heard anything good come out of Iran. That's all you hear from them. And the Democrats ignore that and say, oh, that's not really what they are. And yet all the terrorism, 90%, or I don't know what percentage of, but a majority of terrorism comes out of there. And of course it moves around, but the base, the central, I mean, what is it, Tehran? I mean, what closer word to terrorism is Tehran? So anyway, what I'm trying to get at is, I don't even know what I started this for. I just know that allowing people to, you know, is the justice system allowing people, you know, is it allowed? I mean, is crime? I mean, they take hackers in big computer companies to put up their security. You know, and who, you know, is how is, you know, say crime doesn't pay. They security companies hire ex-thieves, burglars, to set up security systems in your home. How is any of this good? How do you trust a security company hires thieves, and, you know, are they pointing at your house and saying, oh yeah, we got to secure, you don't bother them because then I'll come down on you. You know, it's still a criminal enterprise. So people need guns, weapons, to protect themselves, because this really is, that is tyranny, when the government is lying to your face and allowing stuff to happen. And that's exactly what it is. I'm going to have to figure out how to break down that word to explain it. Anyway, that's all I got to say for now. I think, you know, the government allows crime to collect taxes, keeps them operating, the justice system operating. Look at it. Look at how big the justice system is. Look at how big the police force. I mean, it's ridiculous. People just say, oh, well, that's just the way it is. That's the way it's always been. That's how we allow. That's the way, you know, if you vote, it'll all change. No, it doesn't. It's government. Government ain't got to change. They're freaking crooks. They're an organized crime. Government is organized crime. I don't care what country you go to. Government is organized crime. That's where it originates from. It's criminals back in caveman days were going around committing crime against small villages. They were like a village that had criminals that realized or figured that if they go around stealing pelts or something from other other caves or villages that were doing a lot of hunting or gathering. They go around steal buckets of strawberries or a couple pelts, animal pelts, that they wouldn't have to go out and do anything. It'd just be theirs. And if they were far enough away and protected enough that nobody could go just walk in and look around and say, oh, that's our pelt, or that's our strawberries, or that's our basket, they could say, you know, if they was protected enough so you can't get into that inner circle, you could have pelts and strawberries in your cave for days and nobody's going to be the wiser. And that's where crime originated as they went out gathering stuff from other people. And then after these people started complaining, they said, oh, you know, well, you give us a, you know, you're losing what you're losing to crime. And instead of defending yourselves, which they might have been in a peace, you know, there might have been some sort of a negotiation of peace between tribes back in, you know, Neanderthals or Neolithics or whatever. I'm sure crime was heavily in Neolithic time. You know, maybe symbols, maybe the swastika, which is, you know, only known for Nazism. Maybe that was a symbol that they're a peaceful, you know, they're constantly they're migrating, they're moving on or something like that. You know, they're always traveling. You know, they're not staying in one place. Who knows what the rules were? You know, if they're tribes, there might have been tribes that say, hey, we're trying to make a stand here and you can't come through here. Or, you know, who knows? Maybe people wearing symbols acknowledged other people wearing the same kind of symbols. You know, and that's where symbolism came from, or symbology, or whatever you want to call it. And they handed it to another tribe that they struck a deal with them. So, you know, and so all the tribes are wearing these symbols saying they're peaceful and not going to mess with the other tribe. But then there's that one tribe, like the government, that says, well, yeah, we're going to wear that, just like they wear a religion, but they're not religious. I mean, listen to Biden. He can't even pronounce Psalms. God dang. And he's up there, you know, talking Christianity and stuff, and talking out, you know, here a couple months ago, he was like, defund the police and get rid of this and get rid of that and this. You know, I'm anti-government because I don't believe there's anything good about them. But I'm not anti-country. I'm not anti like Constitution, the natural laws, as far as I'm concerned, to protect yourself and be able to speak and move freely. And but you think, well, what about the borders? Well, you got a country, and you got since you all accept laws. I mean, you have two different ways of looking at stuff. You either accept the freedoms in the Constitution and affect that at the border, or you don't, and you quit crying about crime every time it comes into your neighborhood, or you quit crying about somebody else. I mean, if you believe in, if you think everybody should be robbed, then you're part of the criminal enterprise. You're like the spokesperson or the media for the criminal enterprise, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm just saying, to get rid of crime, you gotta be able to protect yourself. If people don't want to protect themselves, that's their problem. And like I said, and this is what I believe. If justice, criminals get justice if the police get to them first. You know, if a police stops them before they commit a crime, or they commit a crime against the police, then they're going to get justice via the police. But I believe if a criminal goes up against the citizens, gets shot, or gets killed or something, hey, that's justice just as well. Because you have to be able to defend yourself, and you cannot sit there, say that a known criminal, and people, well, they've only been arrested once, well, they've committed 300 crimes, or they've been committing crimes for 30 years, and they just now got busted because they outsmarted the police, or they worked with them aside and never had a record. So that's my belief on the subject. If the police get to them first, they're going to get justice. Otherwise, they're going to get citizen justice. And I don't mean a mob. I mean that individual. If they break in that individual's house and they get their head blowed off, then that's the justice of that citizen. Or if that citizen could say, hey, you know, get out of my house, you know, whatever. You know, if they feel they feel they're, this idiot broke in. But then there's people that, maybe it's the first time he thought, well, it's the first time I've ever had this problem, and I think I'll just let this person go because I don't think this, until this person, he didn't realize this person's hit 300 homes that year and stolen a bunch of stuff and might have, who knows what other crimes they committed. But he, at this moment in time, he's got the upper hand, so this criminal pleads, and this guy's never been up against criminals before, and he hears a story, and he figures, oh, okay, well, I'm going to let you go. And so they let him go. Anyway, so that, justice, I believe, should be in the citizens' hands, unless the criminal does crime against the police or the justice system. Then they can get justice as served by the people that promote them.